Good afternoon, welcome, and welcome to Bharat, Nayaswami Bharat. So I'm going to just briefly introduce Bharat and say a little bit about the program today. Nayaswami Bharat has been connected with Ananda and Swamiji since the late 1970s, and I had the privilege of meeting him when I came to Ananda in 1979, and we were part of the monastery together in that era. And I remember staying in his trailer one time back in the day. It was a great adventure for me, and I was in awe of him because he was the author of books, and he traveled places, and he did programs, and it was like, whoa! It was a very major thing in my life as a young person. And it's just been a privilege to know him and to know Nayaswami Anandi, his wife, who he'll be speaking about today. We had the blessing of traveling with her and teaching in different parts of America and several times, and have known her throughout the years. She's one of the saints of Ananda, and we don't, in America, we don't talk that way. It's just like saints are these icons up on the wall, with a big halo around their head. And you don't necessarily see the halo around her head in the picture here, but it's there. It's there. It's just she had an aura of light, and as you'll see very soon, if you haven't already, so does Bharat. And there's just a grace of Master that has come through them into the world, and it's very special. And Bharat will be speaking about her book, Trained in Divine Love, which I've had the joy of going through. And just the stories she tells are so familiar to me, and some of the issues and questions and concerns that she had were ones. She speaks for everyone, and it's just a joy and a blessing. So welcome to Bharat, and thank you for joining us.
Well, I'm very happy to finally be in Sacramento again after many years. Fortunately, I wasn't able to come with Anandi for some years, but I'm here now, and with all of you, and with Anandi here beside me. When Anandi, she was passing, Swami Kriyananda said that a real mature soul should just leave all thought of others behind and just go singly to God. And that's what Anandi did. And, the whole community was praying for her. All of Ananda was praying for her. But you need to be alone with God if you're going to go free to God. And the Ananda members, they had a little where we parked our car away from the house because they didn't want to be too close to disturb her. They had some meditation benches, and people would meditate there. And Anandi was so touched by people's love that she said, if only they knew how much I appreciate their love. And she wanted to join them. And so she was in her little bedroom, and people could see little Tibetan flags that we put there so people would know what room she was staying in, and they'd be meditating. But Anandi actually would join them in her spirit body as they were meditating for her, or with her. And she was just drawn to be out there. She said, I love just being with people and feeling their love and I wanted to be with them. And she appeared to many of those people during the 2 days before she passed. So I thought it'd be fitting on a program about Anandi for us just to, all of us have had, or most of us have had experiences with Anandi, maybe personal communication, with her. We've maybe listened to one of her Sunday services or talks online. So let's just take a moment and just think of Anandi. Swami Kriyananda said that it's love that draws us all together into the great ocean of God. And so let's just think of Anandi and share our love with her. Feel her presence. Feel her joy. Okay, amen. Anandi, as you know, wrote lots of books, and I wrote books too. And one morning, a book hovered above my forehead, and I knew there was something about this book that I was going to be involved in, but I didn't know. I didn't know if it was for me to write. Anandi had just passed, and I didn't feel ready to take on another book project like that. And this book just hovered there, but knowing that I was going to be involved with the book in some way, I just was looking for the cover, because if you're going to be involved with a writing project, it's good to know the topic. But it was on an energetic level that I saw this book. And it would revolve around, and still I had no idea. And then the dream was over, and I woke up. And just outside my door, I heard Anandi's voice very blissfully say, "Bye." And I knew that was had to do with her, but I still didn't know exactly. And my life had sort of changed after Anandi's passed, and so that dream stayed with me. But then it was about 5 days later, in the hatch of our coffee table, I had cleared a couple things off, and I looked inside, and there was the manuscript that was not finished, but a big part was, and I remembered her, Anandi, working on these stories. And so Anandi's book is really a gift for all of us, something that she still wanted to appear, even though she didn't, wasn't able to finish at that time. And Devi, just reading the book, she just said it radiates divine love. And, Anandi's name means joy or bliss. And Anandi had a lot of love too, and love is an expression of bliss. And she, as a young child, she had a scene on her bedroom, and it was sort of like a huntsman scene with rabbits and flowers and squirrels and that. And Anandi always just loved everybody in a very genuine, sincere way. And even as a little child, she had to bless each animal, wouldn't go to sleep until she had, and wish them well. And it was just her nature, and as her love matured, it was just for all creation and all people. And so many people that visited the Expanding Light, she would talk to a lot of the new guests, and they felt very, very close to her, because she was so present with people, and she was just totally there. And we received over 1,400 letters from guests and other people that just really touched by Anandi's life. Her life was about love. When she was young, she said that there weren't many things that she was drawn to. She really had no interest in things. And she said, so she sort of expressed it through romance. But she would meet an attractive guy, and when she was young, and just in the first instant in meeting him, she would see the fatal flaw on how that couldn't work a relationship. It couldn't happen. And it was just instant. And actually later on, I'll tell you, Master told Anandi that she should marry me. And Anandi, when she went to talk to me, we'd sort of known each other, but, in a real impersonal way, because we were both in the monastery, so there was no real interaction. So she expected to see the fatal flaw. Well, I half-laws, but God let her override that, I guess, and that happened. But it was, sometimes she would think about Devi, Shivani, and people doing these big works for Ananda. And she thought there was something wrong with her because that wasn't her temperament. She just wanted to love God and love God and people. That was the main thing. She did many, many things. And she managed many things and helped to orchestrate many events, as we all know, and is a wonderful speaker. But it reminds me of a time when she was in seclusion. And it was such a deep, intimate seclusion with Master that all she could write is you with capital Y, you. And just that word was just interspersed with all her thoughts of devotion to Master and that. And then it was during the time of the court case, and Anandi had just finished one of the Wisdom series books, and it was about, I can't remember the title, but it was about achieving things. There's probably somebody here could probably remember the title, but anyway, it was about how to manifest things. And so Anandi thought, well, I could help the lawsuit if I use some of these principles, because I could earn money to help with the lawsuit, even though it was maybe on a small level. And then she just went like that, and thought she was getting out of that flow of divine communion with God, and that was the most important thing of all. And she just had that perspective, and so that was her. She did lots of things. She learned a lot of things on the path. She was very, very intelligent, and had strong ideas about things, and Swami helped her with that. And and Anandi was so smart that I would tell her experience that I had experienced, and then I would forget about it 20 years later, and then I'd ask Anandi, what did I experience 20 years ago? And she could tell me. And I'm not a dunce, but she just had a remarkable mind that way. In fact, it was so interesting because her mother was writing about Anandi as a young child, and I don't really know babies. Anandi and I didn't have any babies. People think that because I wrote Sharing Nature with Children that Anandi and I would have 10 babies at least, but that wasn't the case. But her mother, the way she wrote it, she said Anandi had a little notebook which she was like 6 weeks old, she was writing down her experiences, and I thought, can that be true? But I had such a high opinion of Anandi's ability. And then I realized that she had sort of didn't say it 6 weeks while she was writing a book. But anyway, Anandi's life was a search for perfect love. And so, on her 23rd birthday, she realized that she didn't really know herself, and she needed a spiritual path. She learned to meditate, and then she came to Ananda in 1971 on her 24th birthday, and 4 months later she joined the monastery. And she just took to the monastery just so eagerly, and to all life of Ananda. And when Anandi was, Swami Kriyananda always has a way of helping us move forward, even at a speed maybe we aren't quite ready for. And so when he asked her to join the monastery, she had just landed at the village and was just happy to be able to be a member of Ananda. And then the greater commitment, but it was just so easy. And Anandi asked, what should I do? And he says, you know what to do. And I think all of us know what to do, because we've been with Swami and Master for many incarnations. And so she took to it real quickly. And, Anandi always, she had a dream early on in her life that was about Swami. And she felt such love for Master and Swami that the only thing she wanted to do was to go deeply into that love and to share that love. and to reciprocate it as much as she could, because that was what she was seeking, and this is what we're all are seeking, why we've come to Ananda, and our hearts have been touched. And so she, in this dream, she was in a car, and she actually had a Volkswagen, green Volkswagen, that she'd given to Swami. And but in the dream, she was in a Volkswagen, and she drove up, and Swami was cooking on the sidewalk. And she got out of the car, and she said, "Hello, Swami." And then she started walking down the sidewalk, and her heart just felt devastated. And so she replayed her dream again. And she drove up in her dream the second time next to Swami and said hello again. And then she said, "Can I help you cook?" And Swami said, "Oh, yes." And so they cooked together. And it was so joyful and so intimate. She talks about it's a love and joy that we want to feel all the time. And, that was a big thing that she would write in her writing. She would, write about her experiences with Swami, as you know, and she would write Master on January 5th, his birthday, every year, and then during her seclusions. And it was always all the time. It wasn't just some of the time, but feeling that deep connection of divine love. And that's what she worked with. And that's why the book is called Trained in Divine Love, because Anandi, she just offered every flaw in herself to Master. She was very vigilant, and she just didn't let anything go by. And she would just offer to Master. There was a beautiful statement a passage in her private papers, which I put all her correspondence with Master in the book as part 2. And she wrote this: "Thoughts of you fill my heart." This is to Master. "Thoughts of you fill my heart today. 2 or 3 weeks ago, you looked thoughtfully at me, and I inwardly heard you say, 'The quirks have disappeared.' I think so too. When a ship is taken into pure waters, the barnacles drop off. Similarly, when God allows a devotee to live in the pure spiritual water that surrounds the guru, faults disappear without effort." And she just felt everything just fall away. And I watched her over her whole life, and she had things like we all have, and everything by the end of her life was just gone. And she, I really feel that she had that she was free at the end of her life, and I'll talk more about that in people's experience and my experience of that. And so, like she said, all we can do is that I can't change myself by myself. That's what Anandi said. But I can give all these things to you, Master, and I know you'll take them away if I ask in faith. And that was one of her biggest strategies that that she did. And I know, all of us are in the same position as Anandi. We're deeply devoted disciples. The story of the cooking with Swami on the sidewalk, when Anandi decided to replay her dream, she was making a choice that every true disciple makes. And will need to make at some point in their evolution. And that's to just give your whole heart to the guru, to the spiritual teacher. And only till we do that can we feel a sense of perfection with that offering. And it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Otherwise, we're still picking and choosing, so to speak. And we take inspiration and we give back our energies, but it's not quite total. And God won't free us until it's total on our part. And as we do that, more and more God can come to us, because more and more that we are Him. in divine joy and in giving. I had a experience with, well, actually this woman from Brazil. She was a sharing nature educator. That's okay. We'll let you get settled. Let's see. Are you okay there? Okay. So I had met her in Brazil, and she told me, or then she came and visited Ananda, and she was camping in her little tent, and she was familiar with yoga, but not with Master. And in her little tent, Master appeared to her, and Master said one word that changed her life. And then when I saw her again, she told me the story, and she said, that word changed my whole life, and it changed the whole department at my university. And that one word was give. And I was giving a program, and the professors, they talked about how she was so giving that it inspired the whole department, and energy was just uplifted and raised, and everybody's doing a lot more for each other and for everything. And that, you know, Swami was talking about the spiritual path. The right attitude is so important on the spiritual path. And he said that that's something that we should all work on, and we do. And and what is right attitude, Swamiji said? It's total purity of heart. And he said that he wanted us to, even though we are working hard on it and intently and sincerely, he wanted us to do more, because so much is gained from that experience. And he said that he hadn't seen really another place in the world that had such a beautiful attitude as the people of Ananda. So he's very, very pleased with our efforts. But he said it's the right attitude that's going to bring us there all the way home. And so I know, just looking at Anandi's life, but also our other friends here at Ananda, their lives and their commitment, it's just such a total offering, and we just watch the light grow in them, you know, just more and more and more because of that attitude. Well, Anandi, she, with every ounce she wanted to give back to Master and Swami, you know, with her efforts, and that's all she lived for, and it was only that. She had an experience of, you know, well, she just felt like God was the doer, and she got to a point where it was just totally that way, and for her, and she would almost get incensed if somebody said she did something, because that wasn't the case in her mind. And but early on, when she wrote the first wisdom book, How to Be Happy All the Time, she really felt that Master inspired it all, and there was such a flow, and she didn't do it at all. And Swami complimented her on writing the book, and Anandi just refused his thankfulness for writing the book. And so Swami then again thanked her for writing the book, and she thought Swami must have misheard her. So she denied that she had anything to do with the book. And then the third time Swami thanked her for writing the book, Anandi, knowing that the last answer didn't really work the last two times, and it'd be ungracious to deny what Swami is saying, she just sort of stayed kind of quiet, and then thanked Swami for thanking her, and then it was only later that why Swami was thanking her for in writing the books. And that's because she had gotten herself out of the way and let Master do it all. And she goes, that's what I was being thanked for. And we know that that's when we bring God in and let God do it all, and we're eager participants to help any way that we can. We know that that's when things really, really shine. Anandi was always focusing herself with the spiritual eye. And I know this is a practice that we all do. It's the whole point of yoga practice, and using the techniques we do that. And we try to do that in between our meditation practices and as we go through the day. And it's just, Master said as you know, we develop very, very fast when we're focused at the spiritual eye. And it's a great technique. All the energy is going there. And all the techniques that we do are a way to enhance the energy going there. But the mind directs energy. And when we are directing that energy all the time, then we're supporting what we're doing in our meditation techniques. But what we're really trying to do is a devotee. And she would, wherever she walked, like from Hansa or the Expanding Light to the Kailas cluster where we live, or wherever she was going, she just kept her mind there at the spiritual eye. And and when she would talk to guests, she had a little poster that said spiritual eye and said the spine and master. And she would always try to feel that her energy in talking to the person was going through the spiritual eye to that person. And I think that's why people felt that she was so present with them, because of that practice. And when Anandi, Master said that when we focus at the spiritual eye, the heart's energy goes up through the spine, out through the spiritual eye to the whole world. And we're expressing universal love to them. And when we talk to people from that consciousness, they automatically open up to that love, because they can feel its sacredness. And so she practiced that, as I said, and religiously. And then when it came time for her to pass, it was a very quick passing, maybe 2 months, 8 weeks, maybe 9 weeks. And at first I thought it was a stomach flu. And then she was a lot of pain. And she was only on hospice for 1 or 2 days as all. And she could only look at the spiritual eye. It was so much pain that she couldn't really do the techniques. All she could do is bring her mind to the spiritual eye. And she had been practicing it so much that all night long she could keep her mind there, even though it was hard. She said, all I could do was call on Master and ask for his help at the spiritual eye. And they did help her. She transitioned through the spiritual eye, and I'll talk more about that. So she was really preparing herself her whole life, but also during that preparation, she was just sharing the joy of God through the spiritual eye to people, and so it's something that we can practice too, and I'm sure we are practicing that. But just as Swami said, with right attitude, to work on it, and even though you're doing great, work on it more. And that's the case also with this. And Nandi had a great sense of humor. And she also had real discernment, and she could tell it like it is. But she was never unkind, but she could be truthful if it helped person to overcome a delusion in some way. And I just love that, because she had such a gentle heart and really loved people, but she had the power of truth in the way that she would talk with people. One of the amusing things that she said was, in the early recording business that record all the Swami's talks and that they managed them. Krishnadas, known as Bill back then, worked with Anandi and two other men. And Krishnadas had a girlfriend in the community, and Anandi was a nun at the time. And his girlfriend knocked on the door at the Hansa temple down below where the recording is. And Anandi answered the door, and she turned over to Krishnadas now, but Bill then goes, "Bill, your distraction's here." And somehow she didn't get away with it because everybody felt her kindness, but she could tell it as it is. Somebody was praying for her, when she was ill, and we didn't know that it was untreatable cancer till maybe 3.5 weeks before she passed. It was that quick. And so Trimurti Motika, who used to be here in Sacramento, told Anandi that I'm praying for you. And Anandi said to him, "Well, pray harder, it's not working." It just sort of makes her real. I woke up one morning, or actually, Anandi edited my books, and I would take a look at hers, but she did more work on mine than I think on hers, but on her part. But there's this note from Anandi. She'd edited one of the chapters in my flow learning book, and Anandi said, "I had to kill some of your babies. They should stay dead. Love, Anandi." And kill your babies is a term for writers that are really attached to their words. And so anyway, she had a spine, and she had a sense of truth, and she wouldn't hold back if it could be beneficial. But her heart was so kind all the time. When Anandi passed, it was very quickly, and we went to the hospital, and that's when we took an MRI. Actually, the first visit to the hospital, they were getting ready, took one imagery thing, and they gave her morphine. And she wrote, "Oh my God, this is the best vacation ever," because the first time that she had relief. And then she was transitioning, and as I said, people were praying for her, and she felt such love from people through their prayers. And as Master said, the soul has to go alone to God, and just be detached. The Swami has talked about that, how important it is. And she had very, very dear friends at the village, but she wanted to be alone, and go. Even Jyotish and Devi and Anandi are real close, both Jyotish as well. And then they thought, well, maybe they could come to my office. It's the outside office, and they could pray from there. But Anandi said no. She just needed to be alone, and so I realized that Anandi and we talked about her death for about 14 or maybe 17 seconds. That was all. There was just a feeling of grace and detachment. And she commented on that. I just don't know where the grace came from, but we both had lived a life of renunciation, and it was just helping her be comfortable and to go into God was really what we were doing. And so about 2 days, maybe 3 days before she passed, Narayana, he said it really well. I used to pray for Anandi, and then I started praying to Anandi, because the last 2 or 3 days before she left, she was out of her body, and she was appearing all over the world to people. And so many people, she would just share the bliss that she was feeling. People on the benches there. She came as a deer to one of the Ananda residents, and just stood right next the person, and the person opened the eye, and she could tell it was Anandi. And just over and over, I just keep hearing. I heard 2 stories last week of how Anandi appeared to them, and she shared her joy and her bliss with them. So she's very definitely, she had transitioned, and she was giving energy to people because there was no restrictions to her human body, and her consciousness was beyond her human body. Maitri Jones, a nurse, was taking care of Anandi the night of her passing, and I had been up 24/7 for some time, and I was going to have a busy day, so they put me to sleep for a little bit. And so she was there with Anandi, and it came so quick, I got in just at the end. But Maitri said with Anandi when she was passing, she her breath started to get really loud, but she could tell that Anandi wasn't in her body anymore. And there was just blood pumping through her body and the breath, and there was a string that was tying her to the body. And as Anandi started doing the movements with the 3rd and 4th kriya, and all of a sudden the string was pulled, and then immediately, all the pain that was expressed on her face was just serene and joy, and she had overcome physical existence, and I think the existence of the ego too. At that time, just a radiant smile. Maitri asked one of the caretakers, "What did you do to Anandi's face?" I said, "I didn't do anything. It's just with the radiance of Divine Mother and our gurus." And that's when she really started to start her new ministry. And she appeared in person to a woman at the Assisi Astral Ascension ceremony. There's a woman devotee of ours in Rhode Island, and this woman felt in Anandi's presence a wind blowing from east to west, and Anandi was saying California, and she took it as it's I should go to Ananda village, and she did, and so in many ways we're all devotees and very deep, sincere devotees of God in our path. And we have divine marriages because we're both think of God, and both spouses, and so it really brings a sense of exaltation. When you have someone that's almost like a brother monk, or maybe a brother nun or sister nun, where you're just seeking God together, and you're just so close because there's not the ego, the personal affirmation, and even if we maybe don't have a partner that's on the spiritual path, but we have that sense of that understanding ourselves. And we bring that vibrationally to our relationships. Well, I found with Anandi that being married to her, that the relationship doesn't end at all. A month after passing, I knew that it was my time to really seek God alone and to merge into God. And it's been something I've been working on. But as just watching Anandi, and this is the whole grace around that. And the first dream I had of Anandi was she appeared in a living room. There may be about 10 people in the living room. It was at Ananda. And Anandi came and sat next to me, and I put my arm around her and I asked, "How are you doing?" And all Anandi said, this is the only word she said, is, "I'm enjoying the bliss of the Heavenly Father in the spine." And that was it. And that was the direction, of course, for us all to go. And then I just kept having things in meditation and thoughts, and I realized that a relationship, especially a profound one, doesn't end at all. It just grows more and more exalted as time goes. And it was about 8 months after her passing, 10 months, she came and we walked around. We just shared vibrationally with each other, and she shared a few things she was doing. I thought it was the astral world at that time, higher astral world, and it says that she just wants to continue helping people on Earth at that time. And I didn't ask a lot of questions because I was just enjoying the joyful attunement that was on a higher level. And she said, it's a phrase that is said often, but in parting she said, only love exists. And she said she was very fatigued, and I didn't understand that, but I thought maybe it had to do with something transitioning, from a higher plane to earth plane, because she was in her body, earth body, in the dream vision. And then about almost a year later, or maybe 14 months later, it was less than a year, I had a chance to have a conversation with her. And I'd been looking at this picture of Anandi and feeling a lot of love coming from her and expressing a lot of love to Anandi. And I prayed or asked her, do you still need prayers for liberation? I had no idea where she was, and I had some experience myself with Anandi and meditation that told me it could be higher. This happened 3 times where I was meditating in the Temple of Gratitude, and I saw the crown chakra, the violet chakra, and then the white tunnel, which as soon as I started to go in that tunnel, that's when I lost body consciousness, and I fell and hit the cement, and that brought me back to body consciousness. I wasn't deep enough, but this was 2 days before she passed, and I just felt that Anandi was, she said, and then it happened the next day. After that, I took more precautions, but I still fell off the bench. And then 2 months later, and I just felt that Anandi was sharing. Well, she said, I desired to help you as I desired to help all my friends. And she would always come to that. She talked about that she honored our incarnation and just and fingers intertwined that can't wait for the day of just perfect divine love with each other. But she said, with all my friends, it wasn't personal just to me. A saint, a great soul, feels that for everyone equally. And so, and one of my motives in writing the book was to help people to be open to Anandi. I mean, we have so many gurus that we are there for us, and we have Swamiji and other great saints on this path, and they're all helping us. And but just I thought that so many people have a deep connection with Anandi, and to help them be more receptive to her, knowing that she is actively helping people on the other side, and so many people's testimonies, testaments to the fact. And if you feel inspired, she's able and willing, as the phrase goes, because she wants to share that on the other side. And one thing that Anandi said to an Ananda member that was meditating on the bench outside her bedroom, I think a day or two before her passing, she shared bliss with her, and then she said how much she enjoyed coming with people, and said, you too will be not up there, she didn't use that word, but be sharing God's bliss with people, as so many others are now and in the future. And so we have a whole train of great souls coming through Ananda. And as we know, and we have such high regard for our fellow devotees, and where Swami talked about finding freedom in this lifetime. And he said it so many times that I remember talking with Chidambar in India when he had first said that. And we came to the conclusion, Swami must be serious that it's possible, because it was the first time he was saying that. And so that's really the beauty of these great souls that have passed on, and we see that the way that they have gone into God and have been blessing us. I'd like to read a humorous story about Anandi. It was always a great joy to be married with her, because she always sought harmony, and she always thought of the underlying soul connection that she had, us together, but also with everyone. She always thought that way. And this is an early fun story on how she kept to that. We were just married the first year, in '82, our first year of marriage. And we were up in Oregon, and this is what happened. Bharat and I were new in our relationship and had just completed 2 weeks of nature classes in Oregon. We stopped in Eugene to do a couple errands. I wanted to buy an item at a department store, and Bharat wanted to visit the used bookstore. We drove to the Chamber of Commerce, and the host showed us on a wall map where to go. Go first here to the department store, then around here and around here to the used books. Bharat dropped me off at the parking lot, and we decided he'd be back in an hour. I raced into the store to get my purchase. As soon as I was finished, I checked the small parking lot to make sure Bharat hadn't arrived first. When I saw that he wasn't, I sat on the edge of a tree planter facing the traffic on that one-way street. When he returned, he wouldn't be able to miss me. It was a gorgeous day. I began to practice Hong Sa meditation and soon felt a deep peace. After some time, I realized that Bharat was 20 minutes late. I felt an inner avenue of fear opening up, one possible way for my mind to go. We had no credit cards in those days. I had only $10 in my pocket, and I knew no one in Eugene and nothing about the city. What if Bharat had only a brief glance at the wall map to go by, couldn't remember how to get back? Even as I had worried, I didn't want to lose the peace I felt. I felt my mind make a tangible choice to maintain this peace. Simultaneously, I could see and feel the avenue of fear and know that I did not want to interrupt the peace I was feeling. I decided that I'd wait until a full hour had gone by and then start to think of what to do next. So I continued to enjoy the wonderful peace of meditation. 15 minutes later, a second mental avenue opened up, anger. I knew Bharat loved used bookstores. What if he had become so absorbed looking through books that he had simply forgot our agreement? Righteous anger. I knew exactly how it would feel. I could feel the avenue of anger inviting me to enter. As the minutes went by, I kept my focus on the breath and on Hong Sa, knowing that I needed to continuously to ward off the invitation to be fearful and the invitation to be angry. I chose not to go there. A full hour after our agreed meeting time, Bharat suddenly drove into the driveway right in front of me. As I climbed into the car and greeted him with a happy smile, I felt that in my own small way, I had won a victory over my lower nature. Bharat's story. She did defend me. Once he finished at the bookstore, he drove to what he remembered to be the place he dropped me off. When I wasn't there, he assumed the reason was simply that women like to shop. He felt content reading his books, happy to wait until I showed up. When lunchtime came, he felt hungry and went to a nearby takeout place and brought 2 lunches. Walking back to the car, he noticed the trees on that one-way street seemed different from the trees he'd remembered dropped me off at. I hadn't appeared. Putting two and two together, Bharat realized he'd better try another one-way street. it was at that point that he drove up to me, happily calling out, "Here's your lunch." So it's an innocent story, but it's a story really of her life and, well, my life too. Two devotees where we see the highest in each other, and that's all important. It reminds me of Swami's father told his new wife that he was going to make all the important decisions in their marriage. And then later on he said, no decision was so important that I had to make it. And so just the love and harmony that we have for each other, seeing God in each other and sharing that, it keeps us on an even course and a beautiful course. And so there's so many more things I could talk about with Anandi, but she had a real victorious life, and with a lot of help from beloved Swamiji and Master. And Swami worked so carefully with her, and she was eager to be worked with. And she put her heart behind everything, as all of us do. And the rewards are tremendous as we offer ourselves completely to God. And that's really the story of her life and the story of her life now. And, all of us want to help people as much as we can. It's the nature of bliss to share. And we have that. And when a soul finds God and they can do so much more and give people so much more and touch them so profoundly, it really can change their lives. And so if you haven't read Anandi's book, maybe you could find a copy or borrow it. It's just a wonderful story and a lot of great stories in the book. So let's see if there's anything else. Oh, could we show that video? This is just a 2-minute video, but it really captures Anandi's energy, and I thought you'd like to see it.
Never worry if it seems like the amount of love you have to give is so little. God doesn't care. That's why Krishna in the Gita says, even a leaf, I accept even a leaf if you offer it to me. I don't care what you give me. Just give it to me. Give me your love, whatever it is. Swami Kriyananda says that sometimes we can feel strain in trying to love God. I want to love you more, I want to love you more, but we're straining. He said, try to feel that the universe, basically, is offering its love through you to God. It's not your love, it's pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is loving God through you. And I'd like to end with a story that is very sweet. There's a direct disciple of Yogananda named Leo Cox. And he wrote a little booklet about his life with Yogananda. And in reading the booklet, you get the feeling that hermitage discipline was a little hard on Leo Cox. I don't think he ended up staying with Master. So he had some battles going on inside of himself. But one day he was walking with Master, and he was overwhelmed with the love that he felt. And as he walked, he just kept saying, I love you, Master. I love you, Master. He said, I knew he was knowing what I was saying. And he just said he was just offering himself more and more deeply to the Guru. And Master just stopped and he turned to him and he said, oh, Leo. He said, when you're like this, I can take you by the hand and lead you straight to God. And that, I think, is his message to every one of us. Oh, my disciple, oh, my devotee, just love me. That's all I ask of you, and I can take you to God. Jai Guru. God bless us all.
She was born in Missouri, St. Louis, 5 miles away from where Davy was born. They were the same age. And she, came out to California then, and I think there's some in the book about her life, but she had an uncle that was Master's dentist, and on his roadside trips across the country, he would stop at her uncle's house, not too far away from Anandi's, and we had a chance to talk to his daughters who remembered Master, and she has a sister down in Encinitas. Her mother came to Ananda in 1971, and she stayed in special accommodations at the meditation retreat. It was an armored truck with just an open hole for the facilities. But she loved it. She talked to Jaya and all these people. The people are so fascinated, interested, that she really enjoyed her stay, even though it wasn't a place where she used to stay. A fancy hotel. But at the end of her mother's life, she had some money, and she said, with all this money, I can't even eat. And she, Ananda had given her how to be, the happiness book, the wisdom book. And she started reading it, and she would quote passages from that book. And then she started to tune into Swami, and she left just feeling really joyful and a real transformation. And Swami had really helped her with her passing. So her family had those deep connections with Master.
And didn't her sister take care of Dr. Lewis's wife?
What did you say?
Didn't her sister take care of Dr. Lewis's wife?
Oh, yes. Anandi's sister, Barbara, took care of Mildred Lewis and was very close. And Mildred Lewis became the mother that Barbara had always wanted. And so, yeah, so she had close ties that way. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes?
Did you share your love of nature with Anandi? I'm sure you did.
Yes, we did a lot. She just had a real deep love for nature. And she was up for things. Our first date was in a marsh, wading through the mud, trying to get close to ducks. She was a little bit disoriented, a little bit, but she was game. And she, we have a Japanese sharing nature group there, 10,000 leaders. And so Anandi, to give her a role, she would teach them meditation and as part of the conferences and that. And they just really loved her. And one conference, they had published my John Muir book. And so I came as John Muir, and Nandi dressed up as Mrs. Muir. And of course, the Japanese didn't know too much about John Muir, so we had a lot of leeway. But it was really great doing it with her, and they just loved it. And then she had a big part in my books as well, in terms of ideas and feedback and that. Okay. Yes.
Did she help edit Swami's book, The Path, back when everybody was working on it?
Yeah, there were a lot of people. I think she did the index, if I remember correctly. And then they were also doing the typesetting. They had to go to San Francisco to do it, her and Asha. So it was sort of a all-hands-on-deck project, getting that book published. And Swami was leaving soon for India, so there were a lot of people helping with the production process. And then different people would give ideas as well. Swami was read the chapters and that. And there's some, he was wanting all of us to give a general sense, and then other people gave more specific things about the book. Yeah. Yes?
Did you have a favorite chant?
A favorite chant?
Yeah.
She liked Reveal Thyself. And Shri Guru Dev Om, she liked that. She liked all the chants. But you know, an interesting thing about Anandi, she had a great intellect, and all of this was very new to her. And so when she would go to the temple, she would wait till the chanting was over. This is just first few weeks. She'd wait till the chanting was over and then go in to listen to the talk. so anyway, she's very devoted, but just was it was a transition for her to. They didn't really teach chanting at the University of Michigan. Yes. Yes, she really worked at getting out of the way. She had a great intellect, and she could put things together really well, and she had a great delivery, so that it was, I don't know if the right word is with punch, it just, the way it'd say it, it was like, it would really capture everybody. And then she really started working on letting Master do the delivery, and just kept working towards that, so he could do more and more through her. So, and people said that she could explain things. Well, so many of our speakers are just fantastic at Ananda. But Anandi could just, she was very humble and very real, and helped people relate to what she was saying, and in a way that they could do this. It's kind of that thing of, well, they have problems and they're past them, I can do that too. So she was very real, and she could really help people move through things that way. Yeah. Yes. Excuse me?
Her degree.
Oh, it was in economics. I said she should have majored in home economics. Well, we wrote the monk's cookbook, so anyway. So no, she was actually, anyway, the highest Theta Kappa or whatever it is called. So she did really well, and they wanted her to go do doctorate, but she wanted to go to California and learn about life and that. So she went to Berkeley, and she was studying planning at Berkeley, but then she just got a few months into it, and then she just really had to go to Ananda. But she helped plan Ananda Village, a part of it, working with the planner. Yes? Yes, she did. She was very close with Hanel, as well as others were too. And she helped Hanel in his transition with Arti, and who'd spent the most time with her. And he was a very great soul. And so she was really blessed to be a part of his transition. Yeah.
You mentioned, and this is so fun, you mentioned the monk cookbook. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, single guys, they miss a lot of things. And so Nitai and Devrishi and I we would put on skits for Christmas, and so we thought we'd write a monk's cookbook as part of the skit. And so we had recipes like chips and peanut butter, and it showed how to unscrew the lid of the peanut butter jar counterclockwise so that you knew which way to turn it. And then you would put chips in to mix to a thick consistency. And then chips a la was just chips. And there were about 5 recipes to have a well-rounded diet. And we led a wilderness or a backcountry retreat for all the single men and married. And we were walking back into the wild area, and I remember a couple of the men were holding these big boxes of chips as we were going in, and that's what we fed them the whole time. But anyway, I'd like to tell you one fun story about Anandi, because she was real game. We went to the Holy Land with Swamiji and a lot of other devotees from Ananda. I'm not sure if it was it 87 or in the 90s? Do you remember? Did you go then?
86 or 87.
Okay. And I'd always wanted to meditate on Om in the desert. And so we were staying at this place kind of in the Dead Sea area, but it was in the desert. And they warned us about panthers, and you should only go with 4 people to prevent panther strikes. And I thought, well, they tell all the tourists that way. And so we went with some other people, and they heard this slurp in this little canal, and they all thought it was a panther, so they left, and only Anandi and I were still going forward. And so we went over to this place to meditate, and I had my headphones with me because I really wanted to meditate in the desert. And Anandi was kind of looking back towards the hotel, kind of wondering, can we go back now? And so we sat on the dike there at the edge of the canal, and I started doing Om technique. And when Anandi saw me pull out my headphones and put over, and she was meditating, kind of looking like this, because I wouldn't be able to hear the panther if it drug her away. So she was going like that. So she left and went back to the hotel. So I was meditating happily with my little headphones on, and then I noticed she wasn't there, and I looked for drag marks, and there were no drag marks. And Anandi abandoned me using her good practical sense that she always had. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but maybe it shows you she was a great soul to put up with me. See, is there any other questions or just comments about Anandi that you'd like to share? Yes.
Yeah, Anandi was one of my teachers for teaching meditation.
Yeah.
And it was so great, And then I always remember her just smiling. I never seen her without smiling. Every day she was smiling many times. Happy for her to go, but we said,
No, it's really true. Yeah, she. She, when she heard that she had to go, she was all for it. And she said, hooray. And she, there wasn't anything that could be done. And she had some challenges, but she was just so happy to go with our masters there that, it was just great. She was so thrilled to be able to go. And, it was just, in the house, it was so detached and really beautiful, and just it was all about helping her go to transition. And there was just so much grace around it that way. Yeah. Yes.
I'm one of those guests that was able to have spiritual counseling with Anandi.
Uh-huh.
And if there's one person, that I could credit to bringing me to Ananda, it would be Anandi.
Uh-huh.
For my very first, time up there, I didn't know Ananda at all. I just was looking for a retreat.
Uh-huh.
And, I met with her, and it just was so meaningful. I can remember almost every word, that we said. And every time I went back over the years, I'd ask for another session with Anandi, and I felt like such a energetic connection to her. It makes my heart swell just to think about it. And from what you're saying, I feel like you're saying that it's really important to her even now to continue to help us.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that drawing on that connection and asking her to help is appropriate.
Yeah. I didn't say, I think I asked Anandi where she was. Did I mention that she said she's on the causal plane now? No. And because I'd asked, and that's what she said, and she's trying to help us on a more refined level. But she's thinking of all of us, she said, and she's trying to help all of us go into the light, and very, wants to do that for us, and so counseling can continue with her. I mean, I just amazed at how the relationship can keep going on, beyond time and space. I mean, we know the teachings in that, but what I witnessed, well, we witnessed that with Swami and Master and all our gurus. But for those of us that have a real personal connection with Anandi, it can still go on and is going on that way. Always include Master, Divine Mother, and all that in the communications. But she said that she's not enjoying the light flowing through her. She is the light. That's what she said, and just as a matter of fact. So. We'll all be in the light. It's just a matter of time, if not now, already. Yeah. Okay, yes, please.
So Ananda was also a big source of support and encouragement. My early days at Ananda and also in all her talks. And I felt when your book came out, I could feel her telling me, get it, read it. But I also had a dream of her a couple.
Could you speak just a little bit louder?
Yes, I also had a dream of her a couple months after she passed. And, she was, at Ananda, and there were people around her, and she says, "I'm just the same with you. Come and hug me." You would say, "I'm just the same."
Mm-hmm.
So it was encouraging. So I thought,
yeah. She would, as many people have said, counsel people at the Expanding Light, and sometimes she would get difficult staff members or guests and that, and she would go and she'd have a great talk with them, and people that maybe other people, not so much the guests, but anyway, she'd come away and all she could talk about, in some cases, people were very difficult. And all Ananda could talk about is their sterling qualities, and had no sense of that is the way that she approached the person, and that helped them open up. And she just didn't consider herself at all in the equation that way. And so, anyway. Yes.
Yeah, I also had spiritual counseling with Anandi, and I remember I was going through some hard things in her life, and I felt just her peace, and just her harmony, and I remember I kind of kept wanting to talk to her, like, I wanted to get that peace, and you can't just, you have to meditate and work on yourself, you can't just grab it out. But I remember just feeling her peace, her deep peace. And I was born in St. Louis also, in the same hospital as Davy.
Oh,
And so then when I found out Anandi's born in St. Louis, I said, oh, that's wonderful. You all ended up in California.
Yeah. We're tied so deeply to each other, aren't we? The thought that we, all came down from the astral world to, do Ananda together. And I heard this story, and it seems like it's very true. There's Ed Welburn. He passed away, and his wife Marianne had a dream, saw this in a dream. And when Ed appeared in the astral world, guess who was the first person to meet him? Well, Swami, it wasn't Swami, it was Bajran. And he was a concierge for Ananda people coming to the astral world. And he showed them around, showed them the ropes, and went over to, took him to Swami, where all the other Ananda devotees were with Swami. And so we have deep, deep connections with each other. We've been doing this together for a long time. And I found that story, I mean, we expect that. I mean, Swami wouldn't be in the astral world with a sign that said, "Gone fishing," you know. There's people are doing a lot of work on the astral world, helping souls. And so we know that, but just to hear that story just makes it more concrete that, yeah, of course it's happening this way and that. So, such a rare, sacred privilege that we have in this life and our many lives together.
I know that you have a place in Mexico when you had some challenge in health, and I was wondering if she went there when she was having this problem, her health problem.
I'm going to come a little closer. You say it again?
Yeah. I was wondering if Anandi went to this hospital or place in Mexico that actually I understand you went there when you were having some health challenge.
Yes.
Did she go there?
Yeah, she went with me.
Oh, she went there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really great to have her there.
Yeah. Well, I know that I heard you got healed, or here you are. Yeah. And I was surprised when she was sick because I said, wait a minute. she was out of the blue like a...
Yeah, she was hardly ever sick her whole lifetime. Yeah. And so it was just time for her to go.
Yeah.
And so she went quickly. Yeah, just the fact that she was sick for a while, sometime, well, people get the flu and that, but it was surprising. But you know, I did ask Jyotish, Anandi, it was before she got the diagnosis, it was untreatable cancer, but we knew it was something and she was doing a lot of suffering. And I just wanted to cover the bases just to get it right. And the idea that does she need to prolong her stay just because she's working some karma off and that. I just asked her. Jyotish said she doesn't need to. She doesn't have more karma to work off. She doesn't need to stay any longer. And that was our sense, so I just thought I should ask just to see. You know, there are some people that thought that she should try, you know, especially younger people, she should try. They have really no idea about that. And it was just her time.
Yeah.
You know, and she was, and had her wheels greased, and she was really ready to go. And had no hesitation. It was really sweet because it was just real impersonal, but just few hours before she passed, all she did was go on my hand with her hand, and that was it. That was, you know, what kind of expression. But then, you know, all these things happened inwardly afterwards, and that she just needed to go and freedom. And I really, you know, it wasn't for me to talk about her state of realization. I mean, Swami is here, he could have told us. As her husband, I just thought time would sort of share and tell us. And putting some things together and other people's experiences and that. Not everyone understands has read her book, but there was a devotee of Ananda, Dayanand, who managed Ananda Publishing for a while. And he was very familiar with Catholic tradition, and there's a Natuza, is that how you say her name? She was the one that recommended Swami was on marriage, a great saint, and she would often send the scent of roses, and it's something that Padre Pio did. And so Dayanand was familiar with this. He had smelled the roses before from Natuza. And so he could feel Anandi's presence. And he could smell the scent of roses. And he asked his wife if she used any scent in the house, and she hadn't. So I don't know where to put all of this, but I did pointedly ask Anandi where she was, and said, across the world. It was a very, very uplifting experience. And so all the different things and visitations and her joy and the evenness in that joy, it just made sense. And so anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to come and share about Anandi and share and both of our love for Anandi.